So welcome to day 67 of Through the Bible in 1 year. In today's Bible study video, we're going to be covering just 2 chapters in today's video, Deuteronomy chapter 28 and Deuteronomy chapter 29. So we're going to cover a really important chapter today, or a really famous chapter today in today's Bible study video, which is chapter 28. Okay, there's a lot of people that to this day continue to reference back to Deuteronomy chapter 28 because they feel there's loads of insights into more recent events and even current events, basically, in regards to Israel, the nation, etc. So let's jump straight into today's Bible study video. Thanks for joining me through this Bible study video through the Bible in 1 year. If you like what we're doing, if you want to support the ministry, there's a link below the video. You can actually sow a seed of whatever you feel is beneficial. Okay, so let's jump straight into it. It's Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 1 reads, "And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth." So the Lord's basically here in this piece of text setting the scene, in the sense that he's basically about to give the children of Israelites sort of like an ultimatum. There's going to be 2 roads that you can go down. You can go down the blessing road, or you're going to go down the curse road. And we're basically going to see in this chapter the Lord lay it out basically quite clearly to his people. So he says, verse 2, "And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God." Okay, so he's now going to proceed into a list of blessings that's going to come upon the Israelites. What happens if they listen to what he's actually saying? Look what he says. Verse 3, "Blessed thou in the city, and blessed thou in the field. Bless the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kine, and the flocks of thy sheep." So not only geographical blessing is the Lord talking about here. Look what else he's talking about. He's talking about the fruit of the body. He's talking about the fruit of the cattle and the increase of the kine. So they're going to grow. Growing is a sign of blessing. Okay, I'm sure I brought that up before. I'll continue to bring that as we continue to go through the scriptures. Okay, the Lord goes out of his way several times to continue to highlight that increase. Okay, children, etc., is a blessing. It's a sign of blessing from the Lord. Let's keep going. That's obviously a bit counter intuitive in regards to the kind of doctrine we have today, where it's more so of personal preservation, don't expand out, don't have kids, etc. Okay, let's keep going. Verse 5, "Blessed thy basket and thy store. Blessed thou when thou comest in, and blessed thou when thou goest out. The Lord shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee 1 way, and flee before thee 7 ways. So he's continuing. "The Lord shall command a blessing upon thee in thy storehouses, and in all that thou settest thine hand unto, and he shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee." So the Lord's going out of his way here in all of these different realms of their life. Okay, whether it's where they live, whether it's the substance, whether it's the increase, whether it's protection from enemies. There's all of these different areas in their life that the Lord's basically saying, look, I'm going to bless you and protect you. To the point where he even says, look what he says in verse 8, "And in all that thou settest thine hand unto." So everything that you do, basically, I'm going to bless. And this isn't some abstract thing. The Lord will highlight that particular thing again and again. And I'll continue to bring it up as we continue through it. Let's keep going. 9, "The Lord shall establish thee an holy people unto himself." So set apart special people, "as he hath sworn unto thee, if thou shalt if you keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, and walk in his ways. And all the people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of thee." So it's going to be quite clear that the Lord is blessing them. And we've already seen elements of that already. We'll continue to see elements of this in fruition when people hear about the Israelites, or they see the Israelites and they're already defeated, they're fearful already before any sort of battle or any sort of interactions actually even taking place. Verse 11, "And the Lord shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, in the land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers to give thee." Okay, it's continuing with the abundance and blessing. Okay, so it's interesting when you read things like this. It's a bit different to what not everyone, but you hear certain people today talk about increase as a bad thing. Increase isn't always a bad thing. Okay, there's nothing wrong with increasing in wealth or increasing in goods, etc. Okay, it's more so about your heart, and firstly, obviously, how you've acquired it and what you're obviously going to do when you get it. Okay, so there are things to bear in mind. The Lord wants to bless you. So just bear that in mind, and just keep that in mind as you continue through the scripture. Let's keep going. The Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure. That sounds nice. The heaven to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thine hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. Okay, because if you're lending out, you're in a position of power. If you're borrowing, you're servant to the person who you've obviously borrowed money from. Okay. 13. And the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath, if that thou hearken unto the commandments of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day to observe and to do. So it's interesting because just knowing what we've already covered in verse 12 about, he's saying these people here should lend out but not borrow. Okay, it's interesting because I've kind of talked about already about the power is with the lender, not the borrower. If you're borrowing, you're subject to that, to the lender. If you're lending out, the person's subject to you. And it's interesting to think about in today's society who are the big lenders out there. Okay, the government are probably the biggest lenders out there who are lending all to the people, whether it's through education and all of those kind of things. And why do they do those kind of things? I'm not saying this is the only reason, but if you're throwing loads of money at the younger generation as they're coming up into education, and they're in a huge debt, what are they going to do? They're going to be subject to their lenders. That's how they go into the system of now going to get a job, working all of these long hours every single week just to kind of pay back that debt. Okay, it's once you know these kind of things, your perspective on life as we see it now today changes, because you start to see what's actually going on. It's a lot more clearer. Okay. And again, the Lord says this over and over again, but this is all contingent on obedience. And that's another reason why I think people misunderstand this, oh, God wants to bless you stuff. It's easy to kind of get carried away and be sold the dream and even believe in the dream of, oh, well, God's just going to bless me. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay, there's certain things that God graciously will give you. Okay, so things, for example, like being able to just wake up in the morning that we might take for granted, being able to breathe, being in relatively good health, all of those things we take for granted, but that's the Lord just naturally blessing us. Okay, graciously blessing us. On top of that, we see things here where it's based on obedience. A lot of people today don't want to be obedient to what the Lord's actually saying, but they want to claim all of the benefits. And that's obviously not going to work out for you, because the Lord doesn't work like that. For those of you out there, if you're watching this, you're learning today and you're thinking to yourself, well, why hasn't God blessed me in certain areas? This isn't necessarily the guaranteed reason, but one easy thing for you to do is just to kind of observe your lifestyle and kind of say, okay, am I actually being obedient, or am I just trying to just use God as an ATM machine where I can just try and take out with no attachment, no benefits? It's something you need to consider. Okay. 14. And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, the right hand or the left, to go after other gods to serve them. And when the Lord is talking about blessing them in all of these different ways, why would you want to just go somewhere else when no one else can offer you this kind of stuff? Okay. 15. But it shall come to pass, and this is the flip side now. We read about at least 10 verses or so talking about being obedient and receiving all of these blessings. Now we're going to see the flip side of what happens if you're not obedient. 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. So if you don't listen to the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. And he's going to go into a list of curses. Now, this is a really key verse, and this is really interesting, because when you think about this is another place where loads of people get mistaught, they misunderstand, they don't fully grasp what's actually going on. Okay, so everyone gets caught up in the buzzwords: commandments, commandments, commandments. Be obedient to the commandments. If you've actually been paying attention, okay, and if you haven't gone through the previous Bible study videos that we've actually gone through and taught you, go back and watch them and learn from them and take notes. But it's interesting because what are part of the commandments? This is what people don't understand. People kind of just get this whole essence of, oh, the Lord just wants me to be a goody two shoes or do everything He says. Okay, I have to be perfect. What you're not understanding, you're not taking into consideration is part of what we've already covered is the opportunity for grace. Okay, the opportunity to cover wrongdoing. Okay, it was all part of the plan. The Lord knew, okay, that His people, everyone, wasn't going to be able to follow what He's actually saying, and because of that, He instituted in all of this stuff, plan of action for restitution. That's why we went through all of the offerings, all of those different procedures you had to go through in order to be right with God. In the same sense we have today, obedience, you still have to be obedient, but at the same time the Lord knows, okay, there's provision for when we do the wrong thing, for when we commit sins. Okay, that's Jesus Christ, that's the whole point. Okay, so it's not just this we can only be good, etc. No, okay, the Lord knows that we're not perfect, and because of that we have to use the plan of action for restitution that He's set in place. Okay, that's what you might not be fully grasping about all of this stuff. It's not just, oh, He wants me to be a robot. No, okay, the Lord knows us better than we know ourselves. So from that standpoint, you have to understand restitution is part of the commandments. Okay, so just bear that in mind. Let's keep going. 16. Now He's going to go into a list of curses. Cursed thou in the city, and cursed thou in the field. Cursed thy basket and thy store. Cursed the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind and the flocks of thy sheep. So it's kind of really, what you can really do is just kind of flip. Everything is already kind of covered on His head, but the Lord's going to go into more detail to kind of highlight the severity of what's actually going to happen if you don't actually listen to what He's saying. Okay, excuse me. 19. Curse thou when thou comest in, and curse thou when thou goest out. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke in all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. So all of this is going to happen if you forsake the Lord and don't actually listen to what He's saying. And to this point where He's saying, look, anything you set your hand to do is not going to prosper until you are destroyed, and it's going to happen really quickly. So bear that in mind. 21. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee. So that's like sickness, okay, and infirmity, until He have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and they shall perish, and they shall pursue thee, until thou perish. Okay, so the Lord's going into all of this great detail, talking about these things to kind of get them to realize why you don't want to be disobedient. Okay, so He's basically talking about extreme sickness, famine, mildew, things like paleness, or things are going to become dead, etc. Okay, until they're going to pursue this, so they're going to be coming after you until you're finished, until you perish. It says in 22:23, and thy heaven that over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee iron. Okay, so it's not going to be soft and ready, basically, to produce. That's basically what the Lord's kind of saying. Okay, the Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust from heaven shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed. So it's not going to yield the right kind of substance to basically ultimately permit the increase down the road. 25. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. So the Lord's not going to protect you from your enemies. If you don't obey, you're going to be smitten by your enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and you will flee. Okay, so he's saying, and flee 7 ways before them, and shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. So where the enemies were going to come and scatter 7 different ways, now if you don't obey, and if the curses actually come upon you, you're going to scatter 7 ways, and you're going to be dispersed into different places around the world. 26, and thy carcass shall be meat unto all the fowls of the air and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray away. The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou canst not be healed. Okay, so unhealable pain, unhealable basic diseases are going to be on them. Okay, the Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. Okay, and thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Thine ox slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue. Thy sons and thy daughters given unto another people, and thine eye shall look and fail for them all the day long, and no might in thine hand. So in loads of graphic detail, the Lord's breaking down really descriptive what's going to happen to his people if they don't obey. Let's just keep going. It's kind of self-explanatory. 33. The fruit of thy land and all thy labours shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed away, so that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. So the Lord's aren't really breaking down and going into things like depression and madness and all of, so a lot of the things we talk about today in regards to disease and all these kind of things is interesting. When you kind of read these kind of things, you just kind of compare it to just some of the kind of things that we experience today, okay, as a world, or the things that are going on. Okay, it's similar in so many aspects of what we're actually covering here in Deuteronomy chapter 28, which is just so funny. Okay, let's keep going. "35. The Lord shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs with a sore botch that cannot be healed, from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known." So again, the Lord's highlighting here that they're going to set up a king. They don't have a king right now. Okay, and it's easy for you to kind of overlook that, but the Lord's kind of highlighting that they're going to set up a king at some point in the future, and they shall serve other gods, wood and stone. Okay, so you're going to be taken away, and you're going to start worshipping other gods. 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations whither the Lord shall lead thee. So he's basically saying they're going to become like a story where people kind of talk about, oh, these were the Israelites that had everything, and then they just lost everything, basically. Okay. Thou shalt carry, 38, thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shalt gather little in, for the locust shall consume it. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress, but shalt neither drink the wine nor gather, for the worms shall eat them. Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coasts, but thou shalt not anoint with the oil, for thine olive shall cast. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. All thy trees and fruit of thy land shall the locust consume. The stranger that within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Okay, so it's just servanthood, basically. Okay, when God's prescribed them for leadership, basically, and to be first. 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all. So ultimately the Lord is breaking it down to the point where he's saying, look, you're not even going to serve me happily and gladly based on all of the stuff I'm giving you. You're going to go and do other things, and because of that, all of these things are going to fall upon you, basically. 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor shew favour to the young. So this nation the Lord's talking about isn't going to care about the elderly or the young. They're all going to just treat you really severely. 51. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed, which shall not leave thee corn, wine, or oil, the increase of thy kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. So imagine, you're out doing all this work, and at the end of the day, you don't even get the rewards. You just get the bare basics. It's not even the bare basics. You're struggling. You're in need. You're in want every single month, and you're not even really prospering or increasing. Okay, you're just literally staying in that same broke down position. Okay, really comparable to a lot of the things we see in today's day and age. 52. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates until thy high and fenced walls come down. So your hedge, your protection is going to come down, wherein thou trustest. Okay, so you've got this protection all around, and it's going to come down. So that faith that you've got is going to be diminished throughout all thy land. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy God hath given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters. To the point now where you're eating your own offspring, which the Lord thy God hath given thee, in the siege and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee. The man tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children which he shall leave, so that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he have nothing left him in the siege, and in the straitness wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in all thy gates. So not only are people going to do these kind of things, they're going to be wicked to the point they're going to be greedy. They're not even thinking about anyone else. They're just going to be thinking about themselves. That's what the Lord's basically saying here. 56. The tender and delicate woman among you. Now he's switching to the woman here, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness. Her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter, and toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear. For she shall eat them for want of all, secretly in the siege and straitness wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God, then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed great plagues, and of the long continuance and sore sickness, and of long continuance. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt. So the things he put upon Egypt, he's going to bring upon you, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Also every sickness and every plague which not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. So even all of the things we've read about already, the Lord is saying there's even more that we haven't talked about that I'm going to put on you as well if you don't listen. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord thy God. And it shall come to pass, as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. So it's actually interesting what the Lord's saying here. The Lord's naturally would rejoice to bless you, but to the point where he's basically going to turn around and rejoice to actually destroy you, which is actually interesting when you think about it from the standpoint of imagine God, this all-powerful person, now is actually enjoying to actually destroy you and actually bring you low. Okay, it'd actually be a weird situation to actually be in. It says 64, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. Okay, so You're talking about stuff like trembling heart. You're talking about heart attacks, strokes, etc. Failing of eyes, blindness, okay, sorrow of mind, madness, all of these different things we talk about today. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. So you won't even know, to the point where they won't even know if today's going to be the last day or not. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even. So in the morning they're going to be saying, God, I wish it was the evening time, because work stops in the evening. And at evening thou shalt say, would God it were morning. Okay, for the fear of thine heart, because when it's the evening time, now it's time for them to come and kill you, basically. Whereof thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. Let's read that again. In the morning, okay, thou shalt say, would God it were even. And at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning, for the fear of thine heart, wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, that thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy. So that was Deuteronomy chapter 28. We now go into Deuteronomy chapter 29 to wrap up today's Bible study video. So we've covered pretty much, like I said in the top of the video, that was a really famous chapter, based on all of the blessings and all of the curses that the Lord basically discussed. And even some things, like he said, things that aren't written in the book, I'll put upon them, okay, is what he said. So there's even other things he didn't mention that he would have put upon them, okay, which I think is interesting. Now we jump into Deuteronomy chapter 29, and it says, verse 1 reads, these the words of the covenant which the Lord commanded Moses to make with the children of Israel in the land of Moab. Notice that, beside the covenant which he made with them in Horeb. Okay, so the scripture here is differentiating two different covenants here, okay. And Moses called unto all Israel and said unto them, ye have seen all that the Lord did before your eyes in the land of Egypt unto Pharaoh and all his servants, and unto all his servant, and unto all his land, the great temptations which thine eyes have seen, the signs and those great miracles. Yet the Lord hath not given you an heart to perceive, and eyes to see, and ears to hear unto this day. And I have led you 40 years in the wilderness. Your clothes are not waxen old upon you, and thy shoe is not waxen old upon thy foot. So he's basically saying over the 40 years you were preserved, okay. Ye have not eaten bread, neither have ye drunk wine or strong drink, that ye might know that I, the Lord your God. So he's basically saying, the specific provision I gave you, I preserved you with throughout those 40 years that happened. So you wouldn't try and say to yourself, oh, I did it all by myself, but it was actually the Lord that actually did this for you. Okay. 7. And when ye came unto this place, Sihon the king of Heshbon and Og the king of Bashan came out against us unto battle, and we smote them. And we took their land and gave it for an inheritance unto the Reubenites and to the Gadites and to the half tribe of Manasseh. Keep therefore the words of this covenant and do them, that ye may prosper in all that ye do. Ye stand this day all of you before the Lord your God, your captains of your tribes, your elders and your officers, all the men of Israel. Your little ones, your wives, and thy stranger that in thy camp, from the hewer of thy wood unto the drawer of thy water, that thou shouldest enter into covenant with the Lord thy God, and into his oath, which the Lord thy God maketh with thee this day. Okay. What is that? Verse 13 reads, that he may establish thee today for a people unto himself, and he may be unto thee a God, as he hath said unto thee, and as he hath sworn unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Neither with you only do I make this covenant and this oath, but with that standeth here with us this day before the Lord our God, and also with that not here with us this day. For ye know, watch this, how we have dwelt in the land of Egypt, and how we came through the nations which ye passed by. And ye have seen their abominations and their idols, wood and stone, silver and gold, which among them. Lest there should be among you man or woman or family or tribe whose heart turneth away this day from the Lord our God, to go serve the gods of these nations. Lest there should be among you a root that beareth gall and wormwood. And it come to pass, when he heareth the words of this curse, that he bless himself in his heart, saying, I shall have peace, though I walk in the imagination of my heart, to add drunkenness to thirst. The Lord will not spare him, he says. Okay. But then the anger of the Lord and his jealousy shall smoke against that man, and all the curses that are written in this book shall lie upon him, and the Lord shall blot out his name from under heaven. Okay, so look what he says. I'll read that again. The Lord will not spare him, but then the anger of the Lord and his jealousy shall smoke against that man, and all the curses that are written in this book shall lie upon him, and the Lord shall blot out his name from under heaven. Okay, so we've covered this already, and we'll continue to cover this as we continue through the Bible. Okay, the Lord will say from time to time, the Lord is a jealous God. Okay, and that gives you some context into the word jealousy. Okay, we kind of just always synonymize it with a negative, in the sense of it's always wrong, but there's clearly a situation when the Lord rightly can be jealous, because where we should be worshipping him, we're deciding to worship other gods, basically, and that's obviously shouldn't be the case. Okay, and it's really, when you think about it from the standpoint of God is the creator. Okay, God is really justified to be jealous of people trying to determine and say, you know what, we want to worship someone else, even though the Lord will continue to give us good things, which obviously we shouldn't be doing. We should be continually focusing on God, basically, and saying, okay, you know what, God, you're continuing to do all of these things for us, we want to worship you, etc. 21, and the Lord shall separate him unto evil out of all the tribes of Israel, according to all the curses of the covenant that are written in this book of the law, so that the generation to come of your children that shall rise up after you, and the stranger that shall come from a far land shall say, when they see the plagues of that land, and the sicknesses which the Lord hath laid upon it, the whole land thereof brimstone and salt burning, it is not sown, nor beareth, nor any grass groweth therein, like the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zeboim, which the Lord overthrew in his anger, in his wrath. So that's going back to Genesis. Okay, even all nations shall say, wherefore hath the Lord done thus unto this land? What the heat of this great anger? Then men shall say, because they have forsaken the covenant of the Lord God of their fathers, which he made with them when he brought them forth out of the land of Egypt. For they went and served other gods and worshipped them, gods whom they knew not, and he had not given unto them. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against this land, to bring upon it all the curses that are written in this book. So it's this severe, basically. Idol worship is that severe that the Lord will basically destroy you. Okay. 28, and the Lord rooted them out of their land in anger and in wrath and in great indignation, and cast them into another land as this day. The secret unto the Lord our God, but those revealed unto us and to our children forever, that may do all the words of this law. May God bless his words. And after reading 2 chapters like we've covered in today's Bible study video, there's just be different things that are running through your mind. Okay, why would anyone reading and hearing these kind of things go the other way? Okay, that's one thing. Why would God turn upon his people in that regard? Okay, these are different questions you have, and literally, naturally, again, I think, as in this time here, and even till today, kind of the problem, I think, one of the big problems I think is that people don't understand that the repentance part of the law's commandments is actually a part of God's commands, okay, as a whole, his whole commandments, in the sense that when you do wrong, okay, there's still restitution. Okay, the Lord set up sin offerings, burnt offerings, all of these different kind of things for that time, okay, the Day of Atonement, etc., for wrongdoing. And it's interesting that within all of this stuff, they would still, okay, and even to today, we still go against what God actually wants. Okay, the second part is, why would God do these kind of things? And you have these questions from time to time, and I just kind of think, when you think about it realistically, naturally, it's ignorance. Okay, people that turn around and say, why would a loving God turn around and punish people? Well, it's because of justice. Okay, it's justice. It's quite simple. I don't know how we understand this in everyday life, but we don't understand it in regards to God. Okay, we have rules and laws today wherever we are in the world, and if you break those rules, justice prevails. Justice should prevail. Justice says that person is punished. In the same sense, the Lord is the creator of the whole world, and he has his rules, and he basically says, if you follow them, this is what happens. If you don't follow them, I have to, as a just judge, do what I've set out in place. It's just simple and natural. For those of us who have kids, it's another layer, another easy way to understand this. If your kid does wrong, okay, justly you should discipline your child one way or another. Okay, you shouldn't just let your child get away with it, because if you let your child get away with it, you're not bringing your child up the right way. Okay, you're basically teaching your child through action that you can do wrong and nothing will happen. Okay, and that's not actually the case. So you can see this in every different area of life. Okay, when you do good, one thing happens. If you do bad, something else happens. It's just natural. It's nature. Okay, it's just that simple, and it's something for you to go away with. And really, don't just take what I'm saying. Okay, go and study these scriptures out, read them for yourself, challenge God in the sense that commune with God in prayer, ask God to show you these kind of things, and he will justly show you these things if in your heart you're purely seeking the truth. Okay, the Lord will reveal these kind of things to you. So that's pretty much it for today's Bible study video. I really appreciate you spending the time with me today. Again, if you like what we're doing here and you want to support the ministry, you can click the link below this video to obviously sow a seed of whatever you feel is best. Don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends and your family, and all the best with your Bible study and your day-to-day life. And look out for new videos at some point in the future. Thanks and take care.